NBC4 News at 11.
And now at 11, unlawful and unconstitutional. That's the message from LA leaders as they sue the Trump administration for violating rights during nonstop immigration raids all across our region. Mayor Bass says people are being arrested by masked agents and given no due process. Good evening to you. I'm Robert Kovacic. Carolyn is off tonight. Today's announcement is coming one day after federal agents on horseback moved through MacArthur Park, an operation the mayor said was designed to, quote, strike fear in the heart of our city. NBC4's Darsha Phillips was there for the mayor's comments and joins us live tonight from downtown L.A. Hi, Darsha.
Hey there, Robert. Yeah, it was the city attorney and the mayor, and the city attorney making it very clear that this lawsuit doesn't aim to end immigration enforcement. It aims to stop the tactics being used by federal agents that they say are unlawful and unconstitutional.
L.A. County, L.A. City, and 7 other cities in Southern California joining the ACLU's lawsuit against the federal government, accusing ICE and other federal agencies of making arrests without warrants and racially profiling people in its immigration sweeps.
The way immigration enforcement happened was that your name was on a warrant, and the immigration agents would come and arrest you. They didn't come to our streets and sweep people up indiscriminately, and that's what we object to.
Mayor Karen Bass and the city attorney described what they called a show of force of federal agents at MacArthur Park on Monday while a kids' summer camp was in session.
Seeing troops, some on horseback, ride through a children's summer camp, disrupting that, traumatizing the kids.
Pasadena, West Hollywood, Montebello, Culver City, Monterey Park, Santa Monica, and Pico Rivera also joined the lawsuit, which asks for an injunction to stop unlawful and unconstitutional immigration enforcement and to stop the feds from holding people in federal buildings in what they say are unlawful conditions without access to attorneys. The Department of Homeland Security responded to the lawsuit, saying in part, any claims that individuals have been targeted by law enforcement because of their skin color are disgusting and categorically false. And any claim that there are subprime conditions at ICE detention centers are false. In fact, ICE has higher detention standards than most U.S. prisons that hold actual U.S. citizens. All detainees are provided with proper meals, medical treatment, and have opportunities to communicate with lawyers and their family members. The city attorney says she's optimistic that an injunction will be granted by the court, saying during Trump's first administration, every lawsuit the city participated in was successful.
We have a pretty good track record at picking our targets. It is not something that we take lightly.
Now, the city attorney also saying that this is the single most important action the city has taken by joining this lawsuit, but also says this will not be the only action this week or even this month. Reporting live from downtown Los Angeles, I'm Darsha Phillips, NBC4 News.
Darsha, thank you for that. Meantime, the latest immigration enforcement operation at a local Home Depot is coming with some added problems. Border Patrol agents say the tires on their vehicles were spiked by people trying to interfere with their arrests. NBC4's Tracy Leong has more on this incident and the community pushback tonight.
Video shared with NBC4 appears to show an immigration enforcement operation in the Van Nuys Home Depot parking lot Tuesday morning.
In the course of that raid, there were staff at the worker center that is on that location that were attempting to monitor and observe what these officers were doing, filming. During that process, they were arrested.
The National Day Labor Organizing Network, Endalon, and Union del Barrio held a press conference outside the Federal Detention Center in downtown L.A., where they believe those arrested are being held, demanding they be released. According to Endalon, the staff from the Workers' Center at Home Depot, who were there to support day laborers, were arrested for trying to protect the workers. The U.S. Border Patrol releasing this photo of those detained: 43-year-old Genaro Ernesto Ayala, 28-year-old Jude Jasmine Janine Allard, 54-year-old Sado Harnica, and 30-year-old Daniel Montenegro, saying they were arrested for interfering with federal agents conducting immigration enforcement operations. They're facing felony charges for placing homemade tire spikes to disable law enforcement vehicles. The U.S. Border Patrol went on to say anyone who interferes with our lawful mission will be arrested. The case is now being reviewed by the U.S. Attorney's Office.
The people united
will never be divided.
Endelon says they were denied access when they tried to visit them at the detention center and will continue fighting for their release, as well as the day laborers who've been detained in recent weeks.
Our message is to stop running over the rights of our neighbors and ourselves, and to understand that we're going to respond every single time you violate these rights, and it doesn't end today or tomorrow. This is an ongoing battle to assert these constitutional rights, and it's our civic duty.
We want to get right to our weather because you need to get ready for a big warm up over the next couple of days. We were out in Burbank tonight, where you see right there, restaurants were certainly busy. A lot of people eating outside. And earlier this afternoon, the kids cooling off at a park in Pasadena. Triple-digit temps and dry grass. Well, you know what that means. The threat of brush fires, and it is high. Today, the bird fire burning close to 50 acres in Castaic. Now, as we take a live look from our 4 cameras all across our region, we want to bring in meteorologist David Bigger to talk about just how hot it's going to get. David.
And Robert, today we had temperatures inland get into the mid to upper 90s with a few low 100s. Tomorrow, I think we'll see more widespread 100s across the Inland Empire and across the San Fernando Valley. Right now, because of such a warm afternoon, we are still looking at a pretty warm overnight. We're still looking at temperatures in the mid 70s right now across the IE and the San Fernando Valley. Most of these temperatures are about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than at this point yesterday. And again, as we get into tomorrow evening, I have a feeling it's still going to be pretty warm out there. For tomorrow, the marine layer is looking very shallow. That's really only going to help anybody that's living west of the 405 because, well, the marine influence can't get in past the coastline. Temperatures, we're looking at more 100s inland, and I think Thursday will be very similar to tomorrow. So we're looking at a moderate risk of heat-related illnesses, meaning that the heat will affect those who are sensitive to the heat, especially if you're outside without access to adequate cooling or hydration. The main areas we're concerned about with this are mainly all of our inland spots, in addition to the Basin, Orange County, and the high desert. Coming up in a couple of minutes, I'll talk about not only the heat, but the other concern for tomorrow, and that's air quality. Robert?
David, thank you. We move now to the latest on that deadly flash flooding in the state of Texas. At least 110 people are dead across 6 counties in central Texas, but that number could double as search and rescue teams are now working around the clock to try and find 161 still missing. NBC's Morgan Chesky has more on those ongoing efforts.
Tonight, with more than 160 missing in the Texas Hill Country,
we have another search party down there.
Tireless search and rescue teams fighting their latest challenge, time.
And that is the sound that is really nonstop, even on day 5 here on the banks of the Guadalupe River. These search crews still going.
Today, Governor Abbott surveyed the damage at Camp Mystic from the air.
We will not stop until every missing person is accounted for.
The sheriff says 5 campers and 1 counselor are still unaccounted for, as we learn more about the young girls who lost their lives there. Blakely McCrory, Hadley Hannah, Lenny McCown, and Mary Stevens were all just 8 years old. This harrowing photo showing 1 cabin of girls, several now confirmed dead. When Kennedy returned to Camp Mystic on Sunday and took these pictures, a glimpse of what her 10-year-old daughter Lucy and her fellow campers went through. That's Lucy's bunk bed surrounded by debris. Tiny clothes still hang in a closet where the water line is several feet high. You can see it again here in the girl's shower. Lucy says she woke up that night to rain and thunder.
People from different cabins started coming to our porch and yelling wake up and go to rec hall because there's a flood.
How would you describe that 4-hour window where you didn't know how Lucy was?
I mean, just the longest 4 hours of my life.
Lucy says when the sun rose, they drove to another camp where they were eventually evacuated by helicopter.
When I saw her, she was wrapped up in a blanket and had a teddy bear. So we just held each other tight, and I held her all night, and just so grateful to God.
Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Kerrville, Texas.
With the shift to cleanup and recovery in some parts of Kern County, Texas, Governor Newsom has announced he is sending 18 additional members of the state's urban search and rescue team there. The governor also sending the LA County Fire Department's canine teams. They specialize in finding survivors. Those canine teams will depart from LAX at around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Yesterday, 8 firefighters from Riverside were also sent to assist crews in Texas. NBC4 Investigates is learning of a new and significant hurdle in the plan to move young people out of Los Angeles County's only juvenile hall. Now, recently, a judge ordered Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall in Downey to move forward with a plan to reduce the number of juveniles housed there. Los Padrinos was deemed unsuitable by the Board of the State and Community Corrections. That board has now determined another facility, Barry J. Nydorf, that was part of the depopulation plan, is also unsuitable. A board spokesperson telling NBC4 that it cannot approve the transfer of youth from one unsuitable facility to another. The county's probation department telling us it will be reviewing the decision and determining the impact and what the next steps will be. Another court hearing about the plan is scheduled for next week. A teenager is in big trouble in Laguna Beach. She is being blamed for starting a brush fire yesterday, likely with illegal fireworks. The Rancho fire burned about 4 acres before it was put out, but it did run dangerously close to homes and forced evacuations. This video appears to show a teenager in the area possibly setting off a firework. While police won't confirm that this is the teen in this specific video, they do tell us the video helped them arrest a 13-year-old boy.
We're not going to confirm or deny any of those videos that are out there on social media, but it was certainly something that was instrumental.
Police say they released that teenager to his parents as he awaits potential charges. 6 months after the wildfires, efforts are underway to stop fires like the Eaton fire from beginning once again. Still ahead for us at 11, the plans to put power lines underground and trading California for the Carolinas. Governor Newsom signaling that he has the presidency on his mind in 2028. We've got details on his visit to the South. Tomorrow, Governor Newsom continues his tour in South Carolina. He is there right now in an effort to engage rural voters. Today, he met Congressman James Clyburn. Clyburn is one of the top Democrats in that state. If Governor Newsom were to run for the White House, South Carolina may be the first state to vote in the 2028 Democratic presidential primary.
Gavin Newsom spent his first several years in office telling our state that he had no interest in running for president. Over the last few months, he's begun to suggest that it's something he might be open to under the right circumstances.
The governor spent the day visiting the rural conservative counties of South Carolina, and he's going to do the same come tomorrow. We move now to our wildfire recovery, and today the focus is on rebuilding and the lessons learned 6 months after these fires. Teams of utility workers are now going above and below ground to upgrade their fire prevention systems. NBC4's Jonathan Gonzalez with a look now at the work already happening in Altadena.
The investigation into the Eaton fire is still well underway, but it's centered around the possibility that it all began because of power lines in this area owned by SoCal Edison. Now, as Altadena 6 months later is really just beginning its rebuilding process, SoCal Edison is walking us through all their work to put power lines in this area underground.
It's a painstaking job done inch by inch, mile by mile. And it will take years and nearly $1 billion to finish.
Undergrounding is time-consuming and it's very expensive.
After January's Palisades and Eaton fires, SoCal Edison immediately focused on restoring service in its affected areas. But for the last several months, the utility has also begun the more difficult process of undergrounding power lines in Malibu and here in Altadena.
we are really moving heaven and earth to say how fast can we get this done.
Shinjini Menon is Senior Vice President of System Planning and Engineering at SoCal Edison, which owns and operates 10,000 miles of power lines. And of those 10,000, about 600 miles have been designated to be buried to prevent the potential for fires.
Different things flying into our lines. It could be metallic balloons, it could be palm fronds, it could be tarp, and then it can short the lines because in those particular locations, because of the terrain or because of the kind of vegetation that's there, any spark can traverse very fast.
Hours before the Eaton fire broke out, homeowners captured video of a decommissioned SoCal Edison transmission line sparking in the relentless wind. After the fire, the agency told state regulators that despite being out of service for decades, that transmission line may have become energized. Since then, the towers have been removed for further investigation.
We don't have the bottom line of what might have happened. These things take a long time.
But Menon says the utility isn't waiting around for the result of the investigation to try and mitigate future wildfire risks, such as undergrounding power lines, which requires a lot of planning.
With undergrounding, you first have to do the civil work to do the trenching and put the vaults in, and then you do the electrical work to pull the cable through that.
So far, they plan to underground at least 170 miles of lines across both fire zones. They've completed 9 miles so far in Malibu and 1 mile in Altadena.
By the end of 2026, we would want to get a bulk of the work done.
At $3 to $5 million per mile, the cost of these two areas alone is estimated at more than $800 million, and that number could rise. Though Edison says it will not directly impact customer rates, they call it the cost of doing business. Even still, as they continue this long process, the utility's engineering designs to try and keep costs down and ultimately make their power grid safer than ever.
Electricity is one of the most essential commodities today, and we take our responsibility very, very seriously.
In Altadena, Jonathan Gonzalez, NBC4 News.
Okay, this is a live look from our camera on Catalina Island this evening. Let's bring in meteorologist David Baker here again to talk about that coming, well, not heat wave, but heat days.
Yeah, it's not really a heat wave, only because temperatures not as hot as what we had a couple months ago, and it's such a short period of time. So if we can get through 2 days of temperatures right around 100, you're all good because the weekend looks great. Let me show you what it looks like outside right now from our downtown LA camera, which you'll notice in this shot, not really seeing any fog or low cloud cover just yet. That's a feature of the marine layer being a lot thinner right now, all courtesy of this area of high pressure that's been building over Arizona. Now, underneath the high, you end up with sinking air. That sinking air is compressing and it's warming up, but it's also essentially acting like a big lid on top of the marine layer, just squeezing it against the surface. So the marine layer is only a couple hundred feet deep at the best, and that means that its influence can only be felt up to about the coastal areas and maybe approaching the 405. We've been kind of using that as a measurement point because if you're west of the 405, you'll have temperatures in the 70s. If you're east of the 405, you're probably going to be in the 80s. So here's another thing that happens when you start to thin out the marine layer and you kind of put a lid over the whole region. You end up with some bad air quality. And sure enough, as we get into tomorrow, we have a couple of areas that we're keeping an eye on. First of all, you see this yellow, that's that moderate color, but you see a lot of orange as well. So the orange for the San Fernando Valley, for instance, that is an indication of air quality that's considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. That would be anybody with lung conditions, heart conditions, elderly, or children. And then we also have some red in the Inland Empire and the Santa Clarita Valley, and that's considered unhealthy for everybody. So here's what we're looking at temperature-wise for tomorrow. Reminder, tomorrow is likely the warmest day of the week. Thursday might be a degree warmer in a few spots, but I think for the most part, it's pretty even temperature-wise. But look at these high desert temperatures, 102 in Lancaster as well as Victorville, 104 around Edwards Air Force Base, 108 in Barstow. We're even looking at some pretty warm temperatures across the mountains in the low to mid 80s. For the Inland Empire, temperatures tomorrow finally getting up to the century mark. We've got 101 around Moreno Valley and around Hemet, 102 in Paris, 103 in Hemet, 102 in Lake Elsinore, as well as San Bernardino, but we do have a few spots still in the 90s, like around Temecula, Corona, and Ontario. As you take a look at Orange County, we are going to list as having maybe some patchy early morning fog, but some of this fog may actually get stuck over the beaches as we get into the afternoon hours. So I think we'll still have plenty of sunshine by the coast, but we may have this occasional patch or two of fog kind of moving about the coastal areas. That's why the coastal temperatures are in the mid 70s. The inland spots are more mid to upper 80s with a few low 90s mixed in, so it's definitely a warmer day for tomorrow. San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita Valley, upper 90s to the low 100s. 101 in Santa Clarita, 99 Van Nuys, 95 degrees in Burbank. The Ventura County Valley is also looking pretty warm. 87 degrees around Santa Paula, 93 in Simi Valley, 80 in Camarillo. And finally, around the basin in the San Gabriel Valley, we're looking at temperatures tomorrow warmer than today. Expect to get really close to low 90s around downtown LA, 95 degrees in Alhambra, 98 degrees in West Covina, and 98 degrees in Pomona. Let's talk 7-day forecast. Basins on top, coastlines down below. For tomorrow and for Wednesday, we have temperatures in the low 90s. But look at how quickly things start to change for the remainder of the week. We get a nice onshore breeze for Friday, a deeper marine layer. Temperatures are in the mid 80s. By Saturday and Sunday, we're down to the low 80s. That is actually below average for this time of year. So we have some nice cooling coming our way. Just got to get through 2 days of heat. Valleys are on top. IE forecast is on the bottom. You see the upper 90s and low 100s for tomorrow and for Thursday. But as we get into Friday, we drop to the mid 90s. We drop into the upper 80s and the low 90s heading into the weekend and next week. High desert on top, low desert forecast down below. Not a ton of relief for the weekend for the high desert. We stay around 100 degrees or warmer, and that'll continue into next week as well. Low desert 115 for tomorrow, 116 for Thursday. And finally, for the area mountains, we still have some monsoonal moisture in the area for tomorrow. Not expecting storms, just a few clouds, and temperatures will remain in the 80s through the entire 7-day forecast. That's a look at your forecast. Now here's Mario with sports.
David, Milwaukee's best used to be a cheap beer. Now it's a flame-throwing rookie. The Dodgers found out the hard way. On the Yamava NBC4 Sports Desk.
This is the Yamava Sports Desk with Mario Solis.
The Dodgers have hit the skids a little bit, dropping 5 in a row after getting mowed by Milwaukee's rookie phenom Jake Mizorowski. The only mistake made by the 6'7" righty was on the third pitch of the game. Shohei Ohtani crushing his 31st home run of the year. Dodgers take the early 1-0 lead. Clayton Kershaw starting for the first time since joining the 3,000K club tonight, adding 3 more strikeouts to the count. Andrew Vaughn with the RBI single. But the story here, Mizorowski in his 5th career start absolutely owning the Dodgers. 12 strikeouts over 6 innings of work. Just the kind of pitcher you don't want to face come playoff time. Dodgers go down 3-1. The NOS is getting interesting. Giants down 3-1 to the Phillies in the 9th. 2 on for Patrick Bailey, who smacks one to the deepest part of the park. It takes a crazy bounce off the brick wall, shooting past everyone in the outfield. The big catcher is going to have a 3-run walk-off inside the park home run. Giants win at 4-3, still 5 back of the Dodgers, with that big series coming up this weekend in San Francisco to wrap up the first half of the season. Angels and Rangers from the Big A. It didn't take long for Corey Seager to make his presence felt, taking Sam Aldigueri deep in the 6th inning. This one was ugly. Angels lose 13-1. The Lakers' goal this offseason was to find a new big man. They did it last week, signing DeAndre Ayton, 2 years, $16 million. The 26-year-old big averaging 14 and 10 last season for Portland, and he said all the right things at his welcome press conference today.
I felt that Lakers was the best fit, you know, being around the 2 best playmakers in the league. And just, you know, Laker Nation, you know, just having a fan base is, you know, just behind him is insane. I've never seen before. And just to be a part of it, knowing that the winning legacy that this organization has, I know the expectations, and I know that winning is a lot. It means a lot here.
Yes, it does. Hey, DeAndre, tell us how you really feel about playing with Luka Doncic.
I feel like a video game. Like somebody set it up. I think somebody set this up. But, like, honestly, this is an opportunity that I won't take for granted. You know, Luka's a once-in-a-generation player, and I'm happy to be his teammate. Hearing how much shape he's been in, he's super ripped, and I'm finally glad to be on his side, you know, while he's doing all of that.
All right, we're in. Now, if you're keeping track at home, Ayton was selected just 2 spots ahead of Luka in the 2018 draft.
This was the Yamava Sports Desk with Mario Solis.
Keep your shoes on. That's the big security change heading our way at airports nationwide. TSA announcing it is phasing out the requirement that you have to take off your shoes during the airport screening process. Officials say security has advanced to the point where removing your shoes is no longer needed. And with all the travelers now required to have real IDs, pre-screening is already built in.
It gives TSA an opportunity now to say, okay, we know who's traveling. We know who these people are. We know that they're essentially trusted travelers. They can leave their shoe on.
I think it's better. I think it'll expedite traffic through the airport, and I think it's safe and a great idea.
Homeland Security says the new shoe policy is in effect at all airports, and that includes LAX. Despite hundreds of millions of dollars spent, an internal audit is finding the city of Long Beach is not fixing its own streets fast enough. An 84-page report found that more than a third of streets in Long Beach are rated poor or very poor, and more than 150 miles of streets in that city need repairs. Now, with the LA Olympics approaching, there is a push to fix the streets at a much faster pace.
There is a lot of bad streets that we need to repair here in Long Beach. We are doing more improvements today than we have in over a generation. We stopped the bleeding so that Long Beach is no longer, the streets aren't deteriorating at the rate that they were before.
The director of public works says all street repair projects are now being accelerated, and that includes more staffing, consolidated projects, and quicker turnarounds with crews. We'll be right back. A new study finds matching your workouts to your personality could make your exercise more enjoyable and easier to stick with. It finds extroverts tend to be fitter and prefer high-intensity training sessions, and people who suffer from anxiety, stress, or moodiness benefit from shorter private lessons and do best at home. That's it for us. Thanks for joining us tonight at 11. The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon coming up next. Have a good night.